Guys, welcome to Creatively Homemade. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jennifer. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator and I love to share fun and creative paper crafting projects with you. So all week long I am featuring the Petal Palette stamp set. It comes in 2 cases. It has a ton of sentiments and then it has these beautiful images that you can color in. So much fun. So today I am making a project life layout with that stamp set. My daughter was inducted into the National Junior Honor Society last December, and so I'm making a page to document that. And the Petal Passion suite of products is so beautiful and it works perfectly for a special occasion like this one. Now I'm going to share with you how I made all these project life cards. If at any time you're interested in any of the products that I feature in this tutorial, I have a link down in the description box below that goes directly to my online store for all the products that I use, so you'll be able to click on that for more information or to purchase it. So let's get started and I will show you how I made all these project life cards. So you want to start by cutting out your 4x6 and 3x4 cards. Now to make this easier, I am using my Project Life die set. It has the 4x6 and the 3x4 card dies, which makes it super easy to cut those out. However, you can also cut those out by hand with a paper trimmer and then use a corner rounder if you like. This particular die set is no longer being sold by Stampin' Up. We're no longer in partnership with Becky Higgins. However, you can get a Project Life die set that is very similar on Amazon, and I will link that down below in the description box. Now I am using Sweet Sugar Plum for the cardstock, and then I am using the Petal Passion Designer Series paper. It's all black and white. It's really cool. It's got a bunch of fun designs, works really well for weddings, birthdays, special occasions. I just really enjoy this Designer Series paper pack. So that's what I'm using today. I'm using this vine print. So I cut out from the Designer Series paper, I cut out one 4x6 and one 3x4 card, and then from the Sweet Sugar Plum cardstock, I cut out one 4x6 and one 3x4 card. First thing I want to do is do some stamping, so for the embellishments for these cards. So I'm going to be using this rose image, I'm going to be using this little flower bouquet image, and then I'm also going to be using the congratulations and this little flower down in the corner here. So I've got Whisper White cardstock and a scrap of Sweet Sugar Plum. I'm going to start with that. I've got black ink and rich razzleberry. So I'm going to stamp that congratulations in black ink on the Sweet Sugar Plum scrap. And you can set that aside. I'm going to stamp this little tiny flower 5 times in rich razzleberry, and those are going to be die cuts, so you want to leave some space in between. Four and 5, and that's all we need the rich razzleberry ink for, so you can put that aside. Then I'm going to pull out this little bouquet. We need 3 of those images. I just love how these stamps give like a watercolor brush appearance. It's so pretty. Okay, now the last little bit of stamping is this big rose. We need to stamp this twice. You want to make sure that's inked up really well. Give it a good press, and then do that a second time. And these images are all going to be die cut with that Coordinating Petals and More Thinlits die sets. So I pulled out my die cut machine, and the next thing I want to do is all my die cutting and embossing at once, so I only have to deal with the machine once. I am putting my multi-purpose platform in there on the #1 tab. That's the one you want to use when you're embossing. So I'm going to have my plates. I am using the Petal Pair embossing folder. I'm using this little vine pattern. And I have a strip of Whisper White cardstock that is 2 1/4 inches by 6 inches. And I'm going to run that through. Just you put it in the middle of the folder, close it up, and then make your standard sandwich. And run it through your die cut machine. And it's going to give a pretty embossed strip for one of the Project Life cards. I switched back to my magnetic platform to do the rest of my die cutting. So I'm going to start with my Stitched Shapes die set, and you need one oval. So I'm using the biggest stitched oval, and I'm going to cut that from Whisper White cardstock, and that's going to be my journaling spot. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. And then the rest of the die cutting is going to be done with the Petals and More set that coordinates with the Petal Palette stamp sets. So I've got that on a magnetic sheet. There are all the dies. It comes with 10 dies that coordinate with all those stamps, so that's really fun. So I'm going to start by cutting out the congratulations sentiment. And I'm using this little label, whoops, right there. It works perfectly with those sentiments in the stamp set. So I'm just going to center that on there and run it through. And then the stamped image, rest of the stamped flower images also have corresponding dies. The little flower that I stamped in Rich Razzleberry has a tiny little flower die. You just need to make sure you line it up correctly and run that through. And it leaves a nice little border all the way around that flower. And then you have a little bouquet die that will cut out that flower image. Just want to center that and run it through your die cut machine. And then the big flower image also has a corresponding die. That's going to be this shape. So you just need to center that and run that through. So I am going to go ahead and cut out the rest of the images. There's quite a few more to do. I'm going to do that off camera and be right back. Before you put away your die cut machine, there's a couple more pieces that you need to make. We need this little viney piece, and we need this border piece. So I have a scrap of old olive cardstock, and I'm going to cut that out, cut the vine piece out. You need 2 of those actually. And then I'm going to cut this border piece from Whisper White cardstock. And I've pulled out my precision plate for this. I think it cuts these intricate shapes a little bit better. And one tip for intricate shapes is to run it through multiple times. So without pulling it out, just run it back through, and you can do 2 or 3 times, and that should help provide more pressure and ensure that you get a better cut. And then one more tip on these intricate shapes. If you lift that up and put it onto your foam mat and use the die brush. That is really helpful for getting that to release. And then it pops right out of that die. And you can do the same thing for the other shape. You can actually do it while you're holding it in your hand as well. You may have a couple of little pieces to pop out, but it's usually not too bad. So that's it for the die cutting, and you can put your die cut machine away. The next step is to do some coloring on these black and white images that you've die cut. I'm going to demonstrate one and then do the rest off camera, so this video is not too long. So I'm just going to show you one of the smaller ones. I have pulled out my Stampin' Blends in Rich Razzleberry and Old Olive. If you're not familiar with Stampin' Blends, they are markers similar to Copics. I just recently started using them, and I'm having so much fun playing around with them. I never thought I would enjoy coloring, but this is actually pretty fun. So I'm going to start with the leaves. One thing you want to do when you're dealing with Stampin' Blends or any type of alcohol marker is you want to put something underneath your stamped image, because these will bleed through your cardstock. So let me zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. You want to start with the darker color. So I've started with my darker Old Olive, and I'm using this brush tip. I found that's easier to work with. And you just want to go in and do some shading. I like to do along the top, so it looks like the sun is showing or shining from one direction. So like this side is going to be lighter. There are a ton of YouTube videos on coloring. I am by no means an expert. I'm just getting started, so I recommend, if you're interested in coloring with Stampin' Blends, to check out some other YouTube videos. And then you go back in with your lighter color of that same shade, and you just go over the darker areas and fill in the uncolored areas, and that will blend it all together. And it gives it a really cool look. So next I'm going to pull out my darker of the Rich Razzleberry and do the same thing. Do some accents on the images. You don't have to do a lot. And then go back in with the lighter shade and color the rest of the image and just blend it all together. And it gives it a really pretty shaded look. I was very impressed with how my images turn out when I'm using it. So there we go. There's one image all colored. I'm going to do the rest of them off screen, and I will be back to show you how they look. So here are those colored images. I think they look so gorgeous. It's amazing. You don't have to have much skill with coloring, and those markers just make your images look really beautiful. Love the shading on that. Now, one quick tip about these markers, the Stampin' Blends, you want to make sure you use an archival quality ink like Memento, because if you use a regular black ink, when you color over that with markers, the black ink will run. So make sure you use archival quality. So let's start assembling the title card. You need that 4x6 card cut from Sweet Sugar Plum. I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying that today. Sweet Sugar Plum. Anyway, you also need those two big roses that you die cut and colored, and you need your embossed strip. So put some fast fuse adhesive on the back of that embossed strip. Anytime you're dealing with embossing, either use liquid glue or use fast fuse to stick it down. It will stick down so much better that way. So we're going to take this embossed piece and put it all the way up, nearly all the way to the top of the card. I put mine right where the curve ends, is where I started the embossed strip. Then you want to add your two little rose images. I put the point of this leaf and the point of that leaf and lined it up with the bottom of the embossed strip. there on the back you can see where that bleeds through. So you definitely want something down to protect your work surface while you're coloring. So add a little bit of snail adhesive all over the back of that stamped piece, and then line it up just like that. And then we're going to overlap the second rose image and do the same thing, just line that tip of the leaf up. Just like that. And then you can put journaling down at the bottom, whatever you want to say. I actually ran the Sweet Sugar Plum cardstock through the printer and printed National Junior Honor Society induction ceremony and then put the date, and then I cut my card out. So you could do something like that if you want something printed on your computer. You can print on Stampin' Up's cardstock. It goes through most printers no problem. So there is the finished title card for our page. The other 4x6 card that was cut from the Petal Passion Designer Series paper I used to mount a photograph. This was an Instagram sized photo, so I printed it up square and then I mounted it on Sweet Sugar Plum cardstock. And then I used 2 of the little bouquet stamped images and put in the corner of the photo. Next is the journaling card. So I have that piece of Designer Series paper, the 3x4 card. I'm using the stitched oval to actually write my journaling on. Then you need one of those little bouquet stamped images, and you also need one of these leafy stem die cuts that we cut earlier. Now I'm going to cut this down a little bit. We don't need the whole thing. So I'm just going to cut 2 little stems off of it. And I'm going to use those to tuck under that journaling card. And you don't need the rest of it. You can save that for another project. So that first stem we're going to put up at the top, and it's going to kind of get tucked behind the journaling a little bit. Now when you're gluing down these intricate die cut pieces, I recommend fine tip glue. See how thin those lines are? Our fine tip glue pen works really well for that. Just going to pull out my cardboard again to make sure I don't get glue on my desk. So you just want to add glue all over that die cut in a very thin stream. Trying to get all of it if you can, but definitely like the tips of the leaves, you want to make sure to get a dot of glue there so that they will stick down and not tend to pop up. So I'm just going to put that right up in that top right corner. I've got an old mounting block here and I'm going to stick that right on top of it for a few seconds to make sure that all the spots adhere. While that is setting up, I am going to put, whoops, where'd the other one go? There it is. I'm going to put that one behind this bouquet so it kind of is peeking out a little bit, just like so. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue down on the bottom of that and overlap the bouquet, just to let that set up a little bit. So I'll be able to put that down as one piece when I glue it down later. So go ahead and put adhesive on the back of that stitched shape oval. And you can put that on the top of the journaling card, overlapping that stem. I put it closer to the top so that I have room to put this at the bottom. Just like so. And so I'm going to add some glue to the back of that. You can use snail for the stamped image, but For that leafy stem, you want to really make sure to use that fine tip glue again, just to make sure that sticks down. And just turn that over, trying not to get glue all over your hands. And stick that down in the bottom corner of your journaling card. And again, you can stick that mounting block right over top of it to allow it to set up. So here is the finished card that I did for my daughter's layouts. I just added journaling right on that oval, and it turned out really nice. So to make the filler card, you're going to need the 3x4 card cut from Sweet Sugar Plum. You're going to need a scrap piece of the designer series paper that is cut to 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and then I just rounded the corners. You're also going to need that leafy stem die that you cut earlier, and those 3 little stamped, 3 of the 5, you need 3, and you're going to need 2 for another part of the layout. So pull those out and we're ready to put this card together. So just go ahead and adhere this designer series paper piece down to your 3x4 card, centering it the best you can. Next, we're going to put that leafy stem down. Now it's a little bit too big, so you're going to want to cut off the bottom of it. Give it a little trim, make sure it fits. So that looks pretty good. And then you're going to add that fine tip glue all over the back of that. You don't have to hit every spot, but you want to make sure to get the ends of the leaves, so because you don't want those popping up. So after you've got glue all over the back of that leafy stem die cut, you want to just go ahead and stick that down to your card. Oops. It's okay if it runs off the edge of the block a little bit. And then go ahead and pop your mounting block down on it for about 30 seconds to make sure that all the pieces adhere. And the last thing you need to do for this filler card is to stick all those little flowers down. So I'm just going to use some glue dots to do that. 1 glue dot on the back of each flower. I'm going to stick 1 up there in the top left. And then 1 about in the center right. And then the last little flower I'm going to stick over here on the left. So cute. Now the last few embellishments that we stamped and cut, I used to embellish a photo. We had a lot of blank space. We were sitting a little ways back and it was hard to see my daughter when she actually got inducted. So I was trying to cover up some of the tops of people's heads. So I used this little border piece and then I layered the congratulations label over top of that. And then I put one of these little flower die cuts on either end. So here is that finished Project Life layout all together with all the cards that we made. I really, really love how this turned out. The colors are so pretty and I love those stamp sets and it all just looks so beautiful together. Really perfect for a formal occasion like this one, or weddings, or any sort of celebration like birthdays. Just a beautiful stamp set to have on hand. So if you would like any of the supplies that I featured in this video, including the Petal Palette stamp sets, the Petals and More die sets, or any of the other things like the Stampin' Blends, I have a supply list down in the text down below this video. Just click on Show More, and I have links that go directly to my online store where you can get more information or purchase those items. Just a reminder that if you purchase the Petal Palette stamp set and the coordinating dies together as a bundle, you save 10% off the retail price. Always good to save money, right? But then as an added bonus, you can also pick out a free celebration item. During celebration, you get a free gift with every $50 that you purchase. So I hope you've enjoyed this Project Life video and it has inspired you to document some of your own memories. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more of my Project Life videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy crafting!